As a matter of fact, I didn't expect that my brother would be elected Pope. I recall the elections of Pope John the 23rd, who at the time of his election was a year younger than my brother is now, and who was elected partially due to the fact that the College of Cardinals had only a few members, and mostly elderly cardinals. The current situation is absolutely different. The College of Cardinals is stronger than ever. Many cardinals are present in the conclave, and most of them are at the age when a person is still active and has energy. That's why I didn't expect him to be elected. When I heard that they had chosen my brother, I was, so to say, shocked, because I, like many people, see not only the surface gloss, but also the amount of responsibility of this post, the necessity to devote oneself to serving God utterly. This means that ordinary human concerns are pushed to the background. This is necessary if one understands the mission of serving in the right way. This particular aspect worried me a lot. It wasn't easy to accept it then and there. It took some time to do so. But I think that now I'm totally open to accepting and realizing what has happened. Jesus prayed in Gethsemane, "Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me. Yet, not what I want, but what you want." And I prayed for this chalice to pass him by, so that he wouldn't have to fulfill this mission, so that God would release him from this destiny.
Our life in Marktal was hard. It was a time of severe unemployment, reparations that Germany had to pay after the war, which were a heavy burden for its economy, whilst conflicts between political parties set people fighting with each other. I was born on Holy Saturday, the 16th of April, 1927. This is the last day of Holy Week before Easter. I was baptized the next day in the morning in the freshly blessed water. To be the first one who is baptized in newly sanctified water became some sort of an act of divine intent. I always felt thankful that my life was tied to the sacrament of Easter from the very beginning.
Wir sind in einem katholischen Elternhaus aufgewachsen.
We were born to a Catholic family in which the spirit of faith, the Catholic faith, was alive. It was that spirit that determined the rhythm and the way of life from early morning till late evening of every day throughout the liturgical year. It is a faith in God, in Christ, who lives in the Church. This determined our worldview, our ideology and lifestyle. Our parents' example was decisive. Our parents were Catholic, and they lived constantly guided by the spirit of faith. At first they shared their faith with us, then they helped us to extend it. But more importantly, they were a living parable of our daily lives. Our life was slow, unfussy. Of course, there are core moments in the liturgical year. These are the great feasts. Christmas preparations were very important. How we constructed the crib, and the spiritual preparations, as well as how we attended the morning masses during the last week of Advent. Or the Easter celebrations with, for instance, the liturgical celebrations in the church, which was particularly marked by the penance colours. We inherited this way of life from our parents, and the parish life of our town helped us to live it.
Das kirchliche Leben am Ort hat dieses eindeutig gemacht.
For us, there was something special in the fact that the Salzach River, the banks on which we lived, forms the border. To get to a foreign country, you just had to cross the bridge, and the language was the same, even the dialect was almost the same. We loved the old beautiful Baroque church. It belonged to the Augustan fathers. Later, the monastery building housed a girls' school and a kindergarten. The most special memory I have of that time was the Holy Shroud of Christ, adorned with flowers, which was exhibited in the church from Holy Friday till Easter. Tittmening, a small town on River Salzach, is located on the border with Austria. This town, with its Salzburgan architecture, is the dream of my childhood. Its majestic central square with a noble fountain in the middle, framed by the town gates and old timber-framed burgher houses, truly a city square which could honor larger and more famous cities. My earliest memories are all connected to liturgical celebrations. In the Tittmening Monastery Church there were, of course, the big feast day, masses with beautiful music in its entire Baroque splendor, which is well developed and, more importantly, as yet untouched in Bavaria, and the magnificence still impresses one deeply today. When one climbed to the top of the hill overlooking the Salzach Valley, one could reach the Polnach Chapel, one of the most beloved Marian sanctuaries, built in the same Salzburg Baroque style and surrounded by woods. Often we three children with mother used to pilgrim here to experience the peace of this place.
I'm standing at the entrance of the house, where Joseph Ratzinger lived with his parents and his siblings, Georg and Maria, from 1932 to to 1937. His mother a housewife. His father was a policeman.
Polizeibeamter. Die Wohnung der Familie Ratzinger war hier.
The Ratzingers' apartment was on the second floor, and police department on the first. The children began to go to school here in Oschau. They were active participants in town life. Joseph Ratzinger had his first communion in the Oschau parish church on March the 15th, 1936. We were always in good relations with Joseph Ratzinger.
Die Verbindung zu Josef Ratzinger wurde immer gepflegt.
He moved to Oschau in 1979 to teach the sacrament of anointing. He was already the Archbishop of Munich and Freising at this time. I am the mayor of this town and I met Cardinal Ratzinger several times. These meetings were unforgettable. He came here from Rome in 1990 together with his sister Maria to take part in celebration of Oschau's 1200th anniversary. He returned to Rome the next day. We visited him in Rome several times. Last time we were there was in 2001 together with our town's orchestra. Recently we erected a monument which will always remind us of Joseph Ratzinger and of his childhood years. This monument expresses our deep bonds with Joseph Ratzinger because he and the Ratzinger family lived among us.
I'm very glad that I spent a little of my lifetime in a real village, that I know the scent of soil and agriculture, that I know natural life, that I've been a part of it. For this reason I keep grateful memories of that village time.
Ja. Ja. Maria.
Ja.
Grüß Gott.
Hello, Maria.
Hi, it's nice that you came.
Visiting you is always a pleasure.
Do you have a reason or...
No, it's just a visit.
Great, great. Please, have a seat.
Thank you. Time runs so fast. We already have a new Pope elected. He will come to Germany, in Bavaria, in September.
But that's wonderful.
You have known him since childhood. You went to school together. And he used to visit you as a child.
Yes, he used to visit us quite often. His mother sent him to our house if she needed something. Yes, that's how it was. Sometimes, when they cooked something, his mother sent food for us as a treat. I recall one time when he came to our house with such small cups. He used to pass through the kitchen, and my mother used to give him something. Once, one of my brothers asked him, "Josef, what will you do when you grow up?" He thought a while and then replied embarrassed, "Well, I'll become a cardinal."
And now he is the Pope.
Yes, now he is the Pope.
And the Ratzinger family was quite ordinary.
Yes, quite ordinary. Ordinary, nice, obedient children. Their mother visited us sometimes too. I would say that she was a very nice woman, although when you are a child, you don't pay attention to such things.
It's so amazing that children can see the future, predict what will happen to them. Look, Joseph has really become a pope. It's unimaginable. Can you think of it? The child with whom you used to play, to go to the same school, is now the pope? And only some time ago you could just chat with him.
Yes, I met them a couple of years ago.
Yes, they don't forget about us. They remember. What about Georg? You were telling about him too.
Yes, George was such a nice boy, although he was always a bit nervous at our house, because my father had been the mayor here until 1933, when the Nazis came. The first National Socialists appeared in our town in 1933, but my father was still a respected man. George was a bit shy in the presence of my brothers too, but their sister was a wonderful girl. I liked her very much.
Yes, that's like it is.
Of course.
They still have live interest in Oschau. The brothers always say that they spent their childhood here, that they have lots of pleasant memories of that time, and of us too. They repeat that there is no other village like ours. When Joseph came to visit our people, these meetings were always so wonderful. I have great memories. I remember that he was always very easy to communicate with. He didn't posture, and he listened seriously to our stories. He respected us.
We were so happy to see George again, when he was already an adult. Yes, we were stunned. He was so polite and friendly. He greeted us, talked to us. He recognized me, always talked to me when meeting us.
Yes, these are our impressions, our memories.
Yes. This is our house. My brothers, all four of them. This man standing here is our teacher. This is the Pope Benedict Ratzinger. This is me. And look here. It's him again. He's sitting here. And there. Look, it's me.
The Ratzingers lived in Oschau from 1932 to 1937. The National Socialists came to power in 1933. Judging by the environment in the town, gradually it became clear that situation was getting worse. Ratzinger Sr. was a policeman, but he didn't want to serve the Nazis. And he didn't want to be part of the Nazi machine.
Einem Staat dienen, der das macht, was die Nazi vorhaben. Und hat da einen ziemlichen Weitblick gehabt.
There were a number of conflicts with his authorities. He retired, and the family moved to Traunstein in 1937. The Second World War began in 1939. An ammunition factory was founded in Oschau in 1939. Soon after it was opened, men had to leave for the battlefront.
Und die Leute, die jungen Männer, die mussten in den Krieg.
My father was a policeman, so the family had to move from one place to another quite often. Finally, when my father retired in 1937, we found refuge near Traunstein. We had a wonderful old farmhouse full of secrets, right on the edge of the forest. I could do whatever I wanted there. First of all, I could read, write, go to the forest whenever I pleased. I created my personal dream world, full of poetry. But the changes brought about by epoch itself tore me out of there, which, to be honest, was right and required. It may sound odd, but the darkness of that historical period, the beginning of the war, didn't cast its shadow to the inner light, which shined for me from the power of knowledge. Latin and Greek lessons filled me with joy. It was the time when I discovered literature and read Goethe with delight. Now, through these years, my life in boarding schools still seems happy, as only it can be in childhood. I managed to get used to seminary school rules and even found pleasure in being like the others. In order to do so, I had to get out of the freely willed loneliness of my lifestyle and establish relations with other teenagers.
This school was founded by Cardinal Faulhaber in 1919 to 1920. But with the growing power of National Socialism, we had to face significant difficulties. At that time, nobody could imagine that the future Pope would study here, that it would be the place where his path would begin. Georg Ratzinger was the first Ratzinger brother to enter the school in 1935. Joseph Ratzinger entered in 1937. The school had to move out of its building during the war years, and the pupils couldn't live there anymore. Besides, a seminary school didn't fit the plans of the new political system.
Es war alles kaputt, alles in jeder Weise.
There are only ruins here. Yes, all ruins. No building remained. Cities, roads, plants, factories, bridges, absolutely everything was destroyed. And the same can be said of human hearts. But all of us were filled with hope that the dark times are over, that there would be no more gunshots, that finally we would get back to a normal life. We were heartbroken because, being idealists by nature, we believed that the current politics were right. There were people who suffered more, for they had to face a severe disillusionment.
Weil sie die große Enttäuschung gefühlt haben. Und zerbrochen waren natürlich auch viele deshalb, weil viele Menschen...
Many people were devastated because they lost relatives and friends during the war. They hadn't returned home or had gone missing. People didn't know what happened to their families. Many had spent up to 10 years in captivity before they could return home. It maimed people, depressed them. But at the same time, people felt hope. They had enough courage to start everything again from the beginning. This hope had two sources. The main one was spiritual source, for people had seen that all these illusions, which the political leaders had been feeding them, were all lies.
War alles nur Lüge und Betrug. Und jetzt hat man sich wieder orientiert nach den echten Werten.
Now they saw new values, which are given by faith. One should know where to seek true human values, which is, after all, faith, because, as Cardinal Faulhaber said, the soul of the culture is the culture of a soul.
Die Kultur ist die Kultur der Seele.
Der Krieg war verursacht durch das Naziregime.
It was the Nazi regime that led us to war. They held not just a faithless, but faith-detesting view of the world, which was actively propagated by the government leaders. This faith-detesting attitude, in its turn, led to the formation of a lifestyle, which we could not accept in any way. My brother, our friends and I, for all our lives, aimed to live following the 10 Commandments and worshipping Christ, and we wanted to work in peace.
Aus dem Geist der 10 Gebote heraus, aus dem Geist der Gottesfurcht heraus.
We hoped that a new world free of hatred, malignity and oppression, a world where there is a place for time, a world where there is a place and time for compassion, love towards one's neighbor, eagerness to help, a world of joy and mutual assistance, would be built out of this unity with God. We hope to find our path in life, which would lead us to this eternal aim.
Dann über das Leben hinaus zu unserem ewigen Ziel.
In the seminary school, such things as gratefulness to God, pain and penance, a desire to start everything from the beginning, to serve the Church for the good of the world were valued. At the same time, we were thirsty for knowledge, which grew even stronger during the years of hunger, the years when we were crushed by the Moloch of power, which is so far from the kingdom of the Spirit. There was one episode during the rite of holy orders which became a sign for me. A bird flew into the cathedral, sat on the altar, and began to sing. I'm not superstitious, but anyhow for me it meant that what was happening was right. I was lucky to be born near Altötting. This is the heart of Bavaria and one of the spiritual centers of Europe. That is why our pilgrimages there are amongst the brightest memories of my childhood. Altötting, the ancient sanctuary of Our Lady, was the main pilgrimage place of Bavaria since the late Middle Ages. Altötting obtained a new saint when I was young. Brother Conrad from Parzham was canonized, a Capuchin monk who lived in the 19th century and was a gatekeeper in the monastery. This humble man of extraordinary kindness comprises all the best that there is in the Bavarian soul and in the German soul in general. This modest saint is highly worshipped nowadays. The more I try to live following his rules, the more I comprehend his spiritual significance.
Ich bin ihm zuerst begegnet, als das erste Mal
I first saw him when he was appointed as the Archbishop of Munich and Freising, an archieparchy. It was in Landshut. This was impressive. He was welcomed by the abbot of the monastery at the gates of Town Cathedral, which has the highest tower of burnt brick in the world. He addressed Reverend Ratzinger with the words, "At the altar of the Word, we shall from now on have a rich meal." He had good reason to say so, because there was a whole generation of theologians whom he taught, who had been, metaphorically, sitting at the feet of Professor Ratzinger, following him from Bonn to Münster, Tübingen and Regensburg to listen to his lectures. This was very impressive, and there I was standing face to face with a grey-haired but still youthful Ratzinger, still a prelate, and yet to be appointed a bishop. The citizens were delighted. Pedestrians greeted him on his way to Munich. It was a wonderful day. He became the Archbishop of Munich and Freising in 1977. It was a time of great changes, or, at least, a time when the echoes of changes in political, social and church life were still being heard. It was the time after the Second Vatican Council, when many had thought that a renewal of church meant doing everything different from how it had been done before. They had been drawn into the same sin which all ideologists get when they say that history begins with them, that everything that had been there before was totally wrong.
Die Sünde aller Ideologen vielfach begangen, die immer sagen, die Geschichte fängt immer erst mit uns an. Alles, was vorher war, das war gar nicht richtig. Und Ratzinger war aber...
Ratzinger was a person who impersonated the ancient tradition in everything relating to church and spiritual life. One of the most important tasks of a shepherd of souls is to preach the word of God to the people. Preaching should be performed so as to address human hearts. And in this, Ratzinger was a natural shepherd of souls. He always found the right words. Later we published his preaching in brochures. People tore them out of our hands. They were so popular. They were bestsellers from the very beginning. People came from afar just to listen to him. The one who has such a gift to speak directly to human hearts and who had such knowledge of human souls is truly the Good Shepherd. And he really is the one. He was a shepherd due to the power of the word, which had been given to him and which he preached.
Aber war es vor allem auch im Wort, das ihm gegeben ist durch die Verkündigung.
We became friends as soon as we got acquainted. It was 1970, 1971. Village people knew, of course, that a university professor from Regensburg was building a house here, but we weren't familiar with the last name Ratzinger. We have had a lot of professors here before, and still today. Nobody knew who Ratzinger was. This last name didn't mean anything to anyone. He was reserved, dignified, and lived a quiet life. The way he addressed people, the way he presented himself was telling that he was a friendly but restrained person. But despite that, he knew how to find a way to the people. I always waited impatiently to the day when he would return, here to Pentling, where he could enjoy the fall of his life. I thought we could talk, communicate here. His garden is here. His life here could have been filled with peace, but, unfortunately, everything turned out to be different. Yes, to know that Cardinal Ratzinger has become the Pope. I could imagine it, but still it's something absolutely extraordinary. I wasn't upset, no. I can hardly describe this feeling. It is joy. It is the first that you feel, but 10 to 15 minutes later, you begin to realize what it really means. I told my wife then, our neighbor is now not just a cardinal, but the Pope. And then you realize what exactly has happened, and whether he will be able to return here at all. Yes, his life has changed.
Ja, und so ist es gewesen. Unser Leben hat sich eigentlich vollkommen verändert.
The time which we spent together in Regensburg has gone forever. The time when he lived in his house in Pendling and came to dine with me, and I could spend evenings with him, all that is gone. We can't spend time together like we used to. He will come in September, but this visit will be the last one. On the 2nd of November, we were to have commemorated our parents and sister together. We haven't thought now how exactly the day of memorial will be organized, but I'm ready that I'll be alone. Of course, on a spiritual level, we will be together. My brother won't be able to come here, but my friends will be with me.
Cari cittadini della Federazione Russa,
Dear citizens of the Russian Federation, I am grateful for the invitation offered me to extend to you my cordial greetings, and I gladly take this opportunity to express the esteem, affection and high regard in which the successor of Peter and the Catholic Church have always held your people and the Russian Orthodox Church. Russia is truly great in a variety of different ways, in her sheer geographical scale, in her long history, in her magnificent spirituality, in her multiplicity of artistic expression. During the past century, the horizon of your noble land, like that of other regions on the European continent, was obscured by shadows of suffering and violence. Shadows that were, however, opposed and overcome by the splendid light of so many martyrs, Orthodox, Catholics and other believers who perished under the oppression of ferocious persecutions. The love of Christ, even unto martyrdom, which unites them, reminds us of the urgent need to restore unity among Christians, a duty to which the Catholic Church feels herself to be irrevocably committed. Both the Catholic Church and the Russian Orthodox Church are moving in this direction. I remember well that a delegation of the Moscow Patriarchate was present at the Second Vatican Council, and I have followed the contacts with the Russian Orthodoxy that have taken place since then. In recent years, these contacts have been intensifying, especially among the faithful, the priests and the bishops. What would you say then of the interreligious and intercultural dialogue, which is another of the priority commitments of the Catholic Church, and also, I believe, of the Russian Orthodox Church? Conscious of the spiritual gift of which they are the stewards, and while firmly retaining their own proper identity, Christians are called to meet with the followers of other religions and to establish with them a fruitful dialogue in truth and charity. To this end, I pray and hope that the millennial ecclesial experience of Russia may continue to enrich the Christian horizon in a spirit of sincere service to the gospel and to the men of today. And now a greeting in the Russian language. I am delighted to be able to address myself in the Russian language to the people and government of this great land of Russia, so dear to me. I extend my warmest greetings to our beloved Orthodox brothers and sisters, especially to His Holiness the Patriarch of Moscow and all Russia, and also to the Catholic bishops and their communities. To all of you, I wish peace and well-being and a spirit of mutual love, and I invoke the blessing of God upon you all.